Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to bring you another countdown. That's right, fans. I think we're on 83, could be 84. We're around that number right there. But today, guys, we got a total of 17 comics, but two of them are not going to be really on the countdown. But I'll explain which books they are and why they're not on the countdown. You can see I'm not in my comic gear, but I'm in my football gear. So yes, I am a Miami Dolphins fan, huge fan, getting ready for the Denver game that's happening today at 4 p.m. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's countdown. Just starting off with the two books that I didn't include because I feel that I don't know too much about the stories enough to really judge them and give them an accurate reading, and that is New Avengers. We have issue number 26. So we got that one there, and Avengers issue number 38. And if I had to pick a book that was a little bit better than another, it was New Avengers. I thought that this book was much better. Or maybe, am I right here? Yes, because this one had to focus. This focused around the Swan, and it dealt with a lot of Tony Stark. And I'm not sure what happened in the past. And there was great artwork in this issue, but I'm not sure really what happened in the past with Tony Stark and Steve Rogers here. But it looks like Tony Stark tried to save the world, and he kind of like epically failed. And now he's caught in this. He's stuck in this container or into this cage or whatever it is, and no one is releasing him. And again, there were some great dialogue moments here between these two characters, and by the time you get to the end of it, you saw Jessica Drew and Natasha come, and it looks like that they were going to release him, but he's in denial that he didn't make any mistakes. So what happens is the two girls, they wind up leaving him behind, and you're kind of like, well, damn, what happened that was so bad to Tony Stark that they're leaving him locked up like this? So I thought that out of the two issues, that this one was much better. I caught a kind of tone of what was going on, but I'm not 100% sure of what happened in the past that got Tony Stark to this particular place. Now, in Avengers, on the other hand, I don't think the artwork is as solid in here, and there's just like so much overload of just what's happening here that there's some weird weapon guy in here, and there's some thing that's making people into like clones, and one person and a whole bunch of other people, and it's just this weird weaponry stuff that's going on, and most of the time it's spent with a whole bunch of people just talking, and I just find it very boring. I didn't understand what was going on, and sometimes that's what you can expect with Jonathan Hickman's writing. So I was just turned off by this particular issue. Now, the reason why I'm reading these books is just maybe, hopefully, somewhere down the line, get an understanding and a history of what's going on with this storyline, so I can really get the gist of how the Secret Wars begins. And that's really why I'm buying these two issues. And I've been turned off by Hickman in his Avengers run. I just think it's too involved, too much that has to do with space, and he loves doing all those graphs and all this other stuff, and so, but I'm really trying to give it a solid try. But those are the reasons why those two are not on the countdown, just because I can't really get a good grasp on them yet. So with that being said, let's start off with the real issues here, and we're going to number 15. And number 15 happens to be Spider-Woman issue number 1. This is a Spider-Verse tie-in. Now, this is an introduction to a new character, well, not a new character, a character we do know, which is Jessica Drew. But this is her own individual series, and I think this was wrong to release this when it's in a tie-in event, when it's going on with an event, and this is used as a tie-in, because it doesn't really introduce the character all that well and make her stand out on her own. I think when you need to release this is either before the event or after the event, not during an event that's happening. And it's felt like it had to do more with Silk than anything than Jessica Drew in this issue. Dennis Hopeless, I love his writing. I think he's a great writer. And Greg Land's artwork is not all that bad. I think he draws really well. But his facial expressions tend to be a little bit off with his lips and his teeth and all that other stuff. And, there was nothing spectacular about this issue. Nothing that made it stand out. And if anything, it was a little bit, where are they? And they're going to where? And, there was some moments that shined here that had to deal with Jessica Drew. But besides that, I didn't think that this book was a worthy release of a brand new title for a character that hasn't had her own series in a very long time. So after reading this book, I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. So I think if you pick this up, maybe pick it up after Spider-Verse. See where it goes from there. All right, so that was number 15. All right, so number 14 this week was, I don't know if you guys will agree with me on this, Batman and Robin, issue number 36. Robin Rises, part 4. I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm really not. I'm all for Damian coming back. We all knew that he was coming back. But the thing is the way he is coming back is what I don't like. I don't like how all our former Robins have to go to Apocalypse to assist Batman here and trying to retrieve Damian's corpse and then him being brought to life. And his casket or whatever his body uses being used as a cannon or whatever it is to destroy other worlds to make Apocalypse stronger. I just of all the ways to bring back a character, I never expected it to be like this. And I think that's what that has me turned off about this particular series. Peter J. Tomasi is the writer. Patrick Gleason is the penciler. Certain times I think the artwork's okay, but it's very dark and it's got that, they're on Apocalypse, so it's really got that orange dark feel. I don't think there's as much detail as there needs to be. Like, I'm really not a fan of this page at all. Especially with Batgirl on here. And this is not the Batgirl that you're reading currently now in the New 52. This has to do with the past Batgirl. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm just really not. I was really turned off by this. Out of all things I expected, I just expected something else. I don't know what that was, but it definitely wasn't this. And Batman taking on all these parademons in his suit and whatnot, which he seemed invincible at one point until he wound up being captured. And I just thought I just didn't like it. I didn't like the character interactions in here. I just thought that, was it Darkseid's son, what's his name? Kalibik, I think that's how you say his name. It was just all roaring and rah. And then finally you get to the end of what Batman was trying to achieve, was trying to get Darkseid's attention. And you wind up seeing him at the end of the actual issue here, just in the shadows. So we'll see where the next issue winds up going, but I'm not a huge fan of this right now. I just wish it was something different, in my opinion. I wish it was more set place in Gotham or whatnot than on Apocalypse. So we already have another whole story going on with World's End, with going on in Apocalypse, and now we have this going on in Apocalypse as well. So that's why it got really low on my list. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 as well, and that was number 14. All right, so going forward, we're going on to number 13 now. Number 13 was The Death of Wolverine, the Weapon X program, issue number 2. Now, I liked the last issue because you had all these science experiment Wolverine-like guys experiencing or escaping out of Weapon X, and it seemed like an action-packed issue, and I was like, okay, well, where are they going to go from here? And basically what happens from here now is that for the most part in this issue, I found they were trying to escape out of in a helicopter. And that was like the most of the issue here. I'm just sitting there and go, okay, well, they're still flying around the helicopter trying to escape and whatnot. And they wind up landing. And what happens here in this issue, you get some character development. And you got one guy trying to name all the other, freak projects that were in Weapon X and whatnot. And, in the end, I found myself going, well, do I really want to read the rest of this series? Do I really want to care? You find out that they're being tracked. And that's really what the issue was about. They're being tracked, and they're trying to be recaptured. And they had these GPS devices in their arm or whatnot, and they were trying to get them out. So, and in the end, I just found myself again just not really, you know, captured by this comic book. I thought the first issue was really interesting, and I said, okay, well, let me see where this goes. And this just went into a direction where I was just like, okay, well, now I really don't care because it's just them on the run trying to be captured. And I don't really enjoy that. I didn't like the characters' names, and it just was just another comic that I think that with all the other books out there, it really can be skipped because there's a lot of books out right now, and I think for the $3.99 price tag too, being that it's a limited series, I just don't feel that it's worth it. So same thing, I gave this one, it was just average for me. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. All right, and that was number 13. So now we're going on to number 12, and number 12 was Superman Wonder Woman issue number 13. Now, I was a huge fan of Tony S. Daniels' run on this book when it first came out. Then you had Doomed come out, and then you knew you were going to get a new creative team on this book. You got Peter J. Tomasi on this as well, and then you get the new artwork done by Doug Meineke. I can't say his name. Meineke. I'm not sure. Where at times I thought the artwork was really well done. And then at other times when it came to these certain facial expressions, characters just don't look the way they are, especially when it came to Superman here. Just got, again, another weird facial expression, kind of like Greg Land with his art, with his smiles. It's just like he's got these big teeth, you know, weird facial expressions. I just wasn't a huge fan of that. You get to see that going forward into the issue where Clark really looks like a pretty boy guy, and I did an in-depth review and I pointed that out as well. You got a weird picture right here with Diana in there also. So it's just kind of like, oh, the artwork's okay. The action scenes were all right. And then, you know, you get to the meat of the story, and it had to do with these generic guys that Wonder Woman and Superman were fighting, and they were getting their asses beat for some guy that's some radioactive dude. And then you get some other guy that calls himself Master Disaster that controls the weather. And this is something that Wonder Woman and Superman can deal with no problem, and they're getting their asses handed to them, you know. And then you wind up coming up to this other new guy who calls himself Wonder Star. And it's just like, all right, so now we got like 3 generic characters in this book. So, and the point of it too was like, it was like a date night for Lois and I keep saying Lois, for Diana and Clark, and they were supposed to go out, and then of course everything gets interrupted by these bad guys. So it was just your plain generic issue, nothing special here. You know, at first I think I gave it maybe a 3.5 out of 5, but when I thought about it more and time went on, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. It was, again, just average for me. We'll see where this series goes if I actually keep on reading it or not. So there you guys go, 3 out of 5 for me. And that was 15, 14, 13, and 12. So now we're going to go on to number 11. And number 11 this week was Earth 2 World's End, issue number 7. Now this book, there's a lot going on in Worlds 2. Kind of reminds me of Future's End in a way, but it's kind of contained within all the characters that are dealing with this certain situation that's happening with how Apocalypse is approaching to Earth. And in the beginning of the issue, you wind up seeing the Furies, you know, you're talking about themselves, how one has fallen and then one's about to be born, and how, you know, that one that fallen, which was Famine, wasn't worthy to be a Fury of Apocalypse. And, you know, then it goes away from that, and it talks about how the avatars of Earth are gathering together to try to stop them. Now, the artwork is really good in this series, and I really enjoy it because you get the Sods in here, and with Huntress, and he has her captured, and I thought all the facial expressions and detail and colors were really nice in here. But again, you get all these different stories that are going on within World's End, or Earth 2. And you see how Huntress is captured again by Desaad, and how he's trying to make her into a Fury. and by he's introducing the new suit to her, and how Huntress is like, oh, I'll never buy into your things, not willingly. Then you get the other crew dealing with clones of Supermen, so you get a little portion of that story. So, and you get the gist of what's going on here. You got Alan Scott working with Solomon Grundy and dealing with his ex fiance or whatnot, and working together, and the emotions there. And then you got another revelation here of what happens with Dr. Fate and Jimmy Olsen, which I thought was pretty interesting too. So there's some solid plot lines that's going on here. It's just a lot happening in the particular issue, and every time, like Earth 2, you get into it, and you get into the actual issue, into a particular storyline, it ends and it goes into another one. You're like, man, now I gotta wait for that. But it was a solid issue. I liked it. I gave this one I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So there we go. All right, so cracking the top 10, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Cracking the top 10 today was The Amazing Spider-Man, featuring the Superior Spider-Man. This is issue number 10, The Spider-Verse Part 2. Yeah, a lot of you guys might be surprised that this is so low on my list. And originally I was kind of upset about it, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. But thinking about it, when I compare it to some of these other comics after I read those, I felt that this was a little bit more worthy of a little bit of a higher grade, maybe on that lower tier of 3.5 book stars. Because when I read like Spider-Woman and Batman Rises, I'm like, well, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse wasn't as bad as I meant it to be, but this was just the first comic that I read of the week. So, but in this issue, the problem with this issue for me is that there's too much of a good thing. There's just Spider-Man all over the place, just jumping from portal to portal to portal to portal, and not enough action to me that's going on in this series. There's too much standing around. There was a huge setup in this issue for all the other tie-in books that has to do with Scarlet Spider, Spider-Woman, and nothing really progressed in this issue whatsoever. I mean, I just showed you 2 pages, and what are they doing? Standing around, jumping through portals. Hey, look, here's another page. We're standing around, coming through the portal. All there is talk, 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 talk. And you get Superior Spider-Man, who wants to be the man in control, and Peter is fighting him on that control, which is to be expected. You get a little battle with Damios, but it feels so rushed. There were so many panels in here, and it lasted 2 pages. And once that was gone, they had to determine what was going to happen next. So, yes, after more standing around and talking, we're going to go jump. The clones are going to go with clones. We're going to get, Jessica Drew goes with her people. And, yeah, and that's what happens. And then you get the core amount of Spider-Man standing around and just talking more. The biggest thing here that you got was that old man Spider was the one that wound up passing away in this issue, and that was about it. And Superior just has enough saying, enough bullshit. We're just going to, we're going to get things cranking now because he's like, I'm in charge. So, I mean, hopefully you guys can understand, if you're a huge fan of this issue, where I'm coming from here. Just a lot of setup and not enough was going on. We need to, I'm all for 100,000 Spider-Men, but when they're all cramped in one page and they're just standing around doing nothing, there's no good story there. Separate them like you're starting to do, send them off into their own books, and keep a core amount of people so you can tell a good story and not feel so much rushed on one page. So again, after reading this, I love the artwork on it. The artwork is a lot better than some of the artwork I've seen already. And, I get where the story is coming from and what they're trying to do. But I still don't think it was anywhere close to a 4-star book, in my opinion. It just gets a 3.5. It's more like 3.25, but I'm being generous to it. So that's where that stands at number 10. All right, so number 9, we're going to go on to Avengers and X-Men Access number 6, otherwise book 2 inversion. Never seen a book have so many titles in my life. But I like this issue. I thought this issue was pretty cool. Same thing though. Does it really progress the story? I don't. I don't think so. It just shows you more of what we already know. We already know that the bad guys become good guys and good guys become bad guys, and we find out that Apocalypse and the X-Men want to take over humankind. It's explained again in the beginning of the issue. I like the artwork in the issue, and it was cool to see the different sides of what would normally be villains face off against what normally be your heroes, and it's just a role reversal. So it was really interesting to see Mystique's change of heart, on how she cares, and Sabretooth caring of everything that was going on. And it was really awesome to see Daredevil and Iron Man try to come to grip with each other, and Iron Man not being a complete villain, but just being that dickhead, self-absorbed jerk, going, it's my money, I can do what I want, I don't need you around telling me what to do, and he kind of tosses Daredevil to the side. And I think you get to see more of that story in Superior Iron Man issue 2 going forward. Then you get to see a whole little cool scene here with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Doom, how they battle against each other, which I thought was awesome too. Again, the artwork was phenomenal. I love the artwork in this book. And then you get to see Thor here go against Loki. But again, role reversal. You get to see Loki have heart for his brother Thor. And you don't normally see that. And I really like seeing it in the issue. Again, however, was it really necessary? Not too sure about that. I mean, it doesn't really progress the story. All we know is the mutants want to take over humankind, and the Avengers are in a bad situation right now. That's all I really know. What happened to Red Skull? What's going to be outcome of this? I have a couple of my viewers that say this ends at issue number 8. How are we going to wrap all this up in 2 issues? I don't know. We'll see. But it was a good issue. It was entertaining. Was it a 4-star book? No, not quite. 3.5 for me as well. And that was number 9. So we're going on to number 8 now. And number 8 was the Fantastic Four issue number 13. That's right, fans. Back in blue. So yes, you get to see your Fantastic Four team members back in the blue costumes once again. And it's like more like the original costumes, because I felt that the red costumes were like a bad omen to them. And I can see why after reading the first 12 issues of this. Nothing has bounced their way. So maybe if they get back in the blue, things will get back in their way. But throughout this issue, it was really cool because you get to see Heroes Reborn Thor come through here and just destroy Camp Hammond. And it's cool because we're seeing more and more of these Heroes Reborn characters from the 90s appear in this comic book, which you're not quite sure how they make their appearance, but you might be seeing it because it might have to do with Ben here, or Bentley, I think, coming through here. But you get to see the Wizard involved, and you get to see all the other Heroes Reborn guys standing in the background as well that have been popping up throughout the issues. But really, the main part of this story has to do with Ben Grimm escaping his actual the prison here. And, he's explaining to Sandman how he's going to do it. And I thought it was brilliant how he was going to escape. How he gets all the FF members involved and whatnot. So this was a really fun issue. I really enjoyed it. Like the artwork in here as well. Leonard Kirk's artwork has been consistent throughout the Fantastic Four. It's always great to, look at his issues while you're reading the book, and it's phenomenal. And I think James Robinson's done really well too. And it was cool to see the assist by Medusa and the Inhumans in this issue as well. And then by the time you get to the issue, you get 3 out of the 4 reunited. And again, once the complete end of the issue comes, you get to see them back in the blue. So awesome book. This series, Fantastic Four, from what I heard, yes, is ending, and I think this run is definitely an underestimated run. I think people have kind of swept Fantastic Four under the rug and kind of forgot about them, say that they can't relate to them, they're just old, they're cheesy, whatever the case may be. It's not the case with this run. This particular run is very interesting. It's been very action-packed, great artwork. If you guys can get this on the trade, go ahead, because I really enjoyed this series so far. Each and every issue has been so pleasing for me to read. So after reading this one, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. All right, so moving forward now, I think we're on number 7. Let me just make sure on that. Yes, on number 7. And this book was pretty cool too. At first I gave it a little bit lower rating in my initial rating, but I'm going to rate it a little bit higher because I thought it was fun. I thought it was an interesting book, a little bit different, but it's something that we have seen before at the same time, if that makes any sense. And this was Synergy issue number 1, published by Image Comics. And this is the same creators, I think, that's done Powers, David Walker, and Michael Avon Oming, and Taka Soma. So really interesting book in its own way when it comes to artwork. It's got kind of like those darker type of colors, but it's kind of a light story as well, based off of the dialogue when you read it or whatnot. And you can see this here too. Got that green tint to it. But really, it's about this girl, and her name is Jess. And in the beginning of the book, she was a virgin, and after the first page, she's not. But once she lost her virginity in the issue, she was able to see people that are disguised as monsters. So that is her boyfriend there. And as soon as she lost her virginity to the guy, this is what she sees. And she's completely in the dark about this. And her father is a monster hunter, and so he's been hunting, people posed as monsters. And throughout the issue, you get to see him, wanting to recruit his daughter, because his daughter originally, before all this, was a scholar to go to college on a scholarship for hockey. And well, that's not going to happen now because, again, the father wants to join the family business. And she has this little dog, a little hellhound dog, and she got to see the dog for what it really is. And the mom is completely in the dark about this. Every time she has an idea of what particularly is going to happen, the father kind of erases it from the mom's brain by gives her a hug or covers her mouth or whatever it is. And look at this crazy battle scenes here between these alien creatures or whatnot. And you can see that here by the father covering the mother's face, kind of erases it from her brain. And it was really cool because at the end of the issue, you kind of see a backstory of the whole, boyfriend and his friend's motive behind, taking over Earth or whatnot. So really interesting stuff. I kind of really enjoyed this book. The backstory of it kind of just completed it all the way around. And this reminded me a way of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it, also it had its own feel to it too. So definitely give this book a try, guys, if you're looking for an image title or something a little bit different from your pull list this week. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right, going on, we go on to number 6. Number 6 was Grimm Fairy Tales, issue number 104. The book continues to develop its new cast of characters here, and that's what makes Grimm Fairy Tales stand out above the rest of the comics this week, or a lot of them, because it's telling you now about this Haley chick, about how she's a water nymph. If I said that right? Nymph? But yeah, she has to do with these water people, and it tells you all about her history, where she came from, how there's this war that is coming on, and her mom tries to recruit her by bringing her back to Neverland. And the artwork is absolutely gorgeous in this book, and it was really well done. Patrick Shan is the writer of this series, and he is really taking his time to get everybody, the readers, to know who these characters are. So again, when major battles or events come around, you're going to know what these characters are, who they represent, where they came from, and it makes you feel for the characters. And that's what you want in your comic book. So check out this artwork with that merman creature, merwoman creature. But they're trying to prevent this war that's happening, and her mom is trying to recruit her to stop it. But in the end of the issue, Sayla comes through and winds up gathering back to the school once again. So really cool stuff. I really enjoyed it. I think Patrick Shan's doing a wonderful job on this particular series. And if you guys are into Grimm Fairy Tales, pick it up at 101, and I think you'll have an idea of what's going on here. And yes, and the next issue has to continue with Again, the water nymphs. So there's that cover there on issue 105. So after reading this one, same thing. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right, now heading into the top 5. Number 5. And number 5 this week goes to Invincible, issue number 115. Yes, if you guys are Invincible fans, this book finally has come out, and they had to get a new colorist on here because the other one has left. And Ryan Otley, who is the artist on the book, had a sore back, so he wasn't able to draw. And this book had to do with Battle Beast and General Thrag. And General Thrag, if you guys know, if you read Invincible, was the former Viltrumite leader. And he was kind of exiled out, pushed out, not to, rule with the Viltrumites anymore. And Battle Beast was actually sent out to go out and destroy General Thrag. And Battle Beast is what you see on the tiger here, the cover. And he winds up going to town here. He winds up going on the planet. And Battle Beast is a type of character who will die in battle very honorably. If he dies, it doesn't matter. As long as it was the best battle that he ever had, he'll go out swinging. And he comes across General Thrag in this issue. And right from the get-go, when General Thrag offers him to join him, he says, "No way, Jose." And there's this battle that just wages on throughout the entire issue. And it's just graphic, man. There's just all kinds of blood and splatter and gore and crazy grasshopper creatures. Now, this grasshopper creatures are the one protecting General Thrag. So you wonder what their loyalty is to him. So what happens as the issue progresses, you get to see the fight go on and on and on, and it keeps going and it wages on. When I talk about artwork, this is artwork, guys. This is great right here. That's something you see out of a video game or whatnot. That was fantastic. Look at this. Look at that artwork, man. Oh, God. So the battle goes on, and as the battle continues, you find out what General Thrag is protecting, because he says, "I will not die. I will go down swinging. I'll do anything to protect my race." And you wind up seeing that he is creating clones with these species of people, and he is making baby after baby after baby. He is single-handedly bringing back the Viltrumite race on his own with some other species. Dude, crazy stuff. I don't know what's going to happen, like how, what happens with these clones, how they progress in age, if they, rapidly age, and all of a sudden General Thrag's got his army back, and it's going to be the Earth Viltrumites versus his Viltrumites. Like, I can see it going out and being a whole other Viltrumite war again. Invincible has a really good story arc going on, but this is planting the seeds for something even greater going on in the future. Great stuff, man. I'm giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Phenomenal. All right, next. I'm sorry, it wasn't 4.5. It was 4. It was a 4-star book. I'm sorry. Just because I think for some other fans, you might be like, okay, well, I don't want to read. There's just too much action, not enough story, and you wanted to get back to the whole Rex thing. That was my reasoning why I gave it a 4. That's right. All right, going on to number 4. Number 4, I've had mixed people saying that they either like Wonder Woman or they don't like Wonder Woman this week. They like the past creative team, and then there's other people that didn't like the creative team. Some people like it because of the new improved artwork. Some people like the old artwork. So there's a lot of things here conflicting people that either like the series or don't like the series. And I can get both ways. Some people say that Wonder Woman looks really young, almost like Babyface-like. Some people say that, she seems a little bit out of character. And for me as a new reader here, it provided me as a good jumping on point for the character. I liked, how she spoke. I like the artwork in there. I'm a personal fan of David Finch's art. I like the representation of water, of what it meant in her saying in the beginning of the issue. And I love the whole fight scene in this issue between Swamp Thing and Wonder Woman in here. I thought that's where this book shined. So you can see in the future that there might be some great battle scenes that happen in this book. And now in the story-wise, I thought it was pretty good too, where it had to do with these tsunamis or something was happening that was destroying like Thailand and all these other places. And then you get to see how Wonder Woman also is feeling overwhelmed by all her responsibility. And I thought that was kind of interesting too. You know, she is a god, but at the same time, I guess you can feel that even a god can feel overwhelmed. And by the time you get to the end of this issue, if you read the last story arc, you know the state that her mother was in, and then you wind up seeing her mother like this. So now Wonder Woman has to deal with that on top of everything. So, you know, after reading this and being, you know, introduced to the character for the most part for me, because I've always wanted to be a Wonder Woman fan. I respected the character. I think she looks great, a great warrior, but I never got into a story where I could really jump on and understand what was going on. And I tried the New 52 when it first came on, and I just wasn't a fan of that artwork, and I didn't like it. So this is why now I'm giving it another chance. So after reading Wonder Woman issue number 36, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 as well. All right. So going forward now, we go on to the top three. Top three. Number three. And number three this week, guys, was Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 21. I shifted around my top three for quite a bit. And they all got kind of the same rating. But in the end, I was looking at quality of book. And I think that's what really made my decision in the end. So Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 21 had to do with Flash Thompson. And him being out in space with the Venom symbiote. And the longer he's been in space, the longer the symbiote has gained control of him. And you can see that he's stuck out here and he has no one to help him. And he's searching for help. He's gotten really dark. He wears the symbiote like a cloak. And anything that ticks off Venom or Flash, he becomes this crazy, wild, alien-like creature. Something that you would see out of Aliens, you know. And it was some crazy artwork in this book, too. And I really enjoyed it as a fan of the symbiote myself. I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was an excellent, well-done comic. There were some great character interactions here between Peter Quill and Kitty Pryde, which I thought were fun. And, you know, him telling her stories about how he would be down and depressed and he would hook up with some other woman when supposedly him and Kitty Pryde are kind of dating, and she kind of wants nothing to do with this story, and her dialogue there was awesome. So great character moments there. However, when the issue progresses, we get to see that Gamora comes across Venom, and he gets pissed off at her, and they just wind up doing this crazy-ass battle. I mean, it's just insane. And this was just a lot of fun, a lot of action for me. Like I said, as a Venom fan, I really appreciated the book here because I want to see where this story arc goes. I want to see if they go to the symbiote planet, where it comes from, and things like that. And by the time you get to the end of this book, you wind up seeing that the Venom symbiote winds up being captured by the rest of the Guardians because Tony Stark gave them an actual device to capture the symbiote in case Flash lost control. And they wind up capturing him, but it wasn't strong enough to contain it, and it winds up possessing Groot in the end. And instead of saying "I am Groot," he goes "I am Venom," and he looks like that. And I was like, dude, that is weird. That is just weird. So, like, how is Groot going to handle this Venom symbiote? So after reading it, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, the reason why I didn't get the number one pick was it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Why don't we use the Venom symbiote and put it on a Groot? You know, just to, I don't know, just to cash in on what the flavor of the month is for Marvel, which is Guardians right now. And what I really want to see with Guardians of the Galaxy is I want to see a real in-depth story with them to take them on serious adventures, and which I haven't seen yet. And this is in issue 21 yet. We've seen bits and pieces, little story arcs here and there of different things. We've had the trials of Jean Grey, but nothing that really develops the team to make you say, oh my God, I can't wait to, you know, to see where these guys are going. It's just little mini story arc after story arc. Nothing progresses the characters. So that's what really made me change my mind here about saying, oh, this series is worth a number one pick right now. But it was a really good issue. So 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. All right, going on to the number 2 book this week, and you guys might be surprised at this one because it's been on bottom of the list for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for probably about 27 out of the 29 weeks, and it is Futures End issue number 29. So this has to do with the new Firestorm in this particular issue, and I love this issue because when the issue is done with just one single story, it was done right. They had a chance to tell it, they had the pages to say it, and they did it, and they did it really good this time. We kind of knew that we were going to get the new Firestorm, which was based off, I think, Jason and Madison here. But throughout the issue, you get to see Red Robin, and you get to see Ronnie in here, Ronnie Raymond, doing battle against all these other people, trying to get to the professor's laboratory because they found out that he's doing this experiment. And it's cool because you wind up seeing these two working together, and you see this cool background picture of the heroes that they once were, and you get to see him trying to breach security, and it was really action-packed, really suspenseful. You got the crazy doctor getting ready to do his crazy teleportation device, and right as he's just about to do that, you get to see our heroes break in and try to stop everything, and it was just really awesome to see all this that you don't see in Future's End. Tell them a whole story in the particular issue. When I kept reading it, I'm like, dude, they're continuing the story. They're not going on to the whole other bullshit. There's actually progression in this story. Holy crap. And just as you see Madison getting ready to get transported, you get to see Ronnie Raymond goes in there, and he winds up interfering with the whole thing. And then you wind up seeing Jason they're trying to join together to become Firestorm. The whole thing blows up, and then you wind up seeing, look at this. This was really cool. I mean, this was a cool issue. And then you wind up seeing the new Firestorm come out, and you're like, oh, that's badass, and it's a chick, you know? And I thought it was really awesome, and they didn't know what happened and where they were at, and you're just like, wow, this is such a great change. And then at the end of the issue, you wind up seeing, which looks like Ronnie dies. He looks like he dies in the issue. Not sure if that's accurate or not, because, but the way Tim was in this actual issue, you're kind of like, yeah, I think he is dead. Now, when you look at the next issue, it looks like it's going to be going back to its original format with telling about 25 different stories in one issue. But nevertheless, when it told one story and it continued, it delivered. And I got to recognize Future's End for that this week. And I really enjoyed it. And I was so happy that they told this story in its entirety. So we actually got a progression here. We actually found out how we got a new Firestorm, finally, without dragging it on. So after reading this, it's a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. All right. Last but not least, the number 1 pick of the week goes to Justice League, issue number 26, the Amazon virus. Everything about this book was really well done for me. The only thing is there was not enough, I think, character interaction in here with amongst other team members. But I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not that perfect 5, but I love the cover here. You got the hazardous symbol with your heroes on here dealing with what is the Amazon virus. And I think they did a very good job here with Jason Fabok's art because he's the new artist in here. I think Ivan Reis was the one that did the art previously for this series, and he filled in tremendously in this book. I thought the book was so well drawn in certain aspects. Like here you get the picture of Superman and Batman, and it was really cool because this virus is taking over metahumans, and it's taken over regular humans. But, of course, it doesn't affect the Trinity, which I thought was cool, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And it's very fitting, for those. And you get to see how it affects the humans, how it goes through different stages, how they get, superhero-like powers in here. And the issue did a really good job of describing what the Amazon virus is and what it does to people and whatnot, and how it takes its toll amongst the other Justice League members. Good character interactions with Steve Trevor in this issue. Wonder Woman again was in this book too, and she was drawn phenomenal. I thought this was real well done also. And I love this issue. Overall, as a complete comic book, I thought that this was the best issue of the week for me. And I can't wait to see where this all goes. And the whole point of this now is to try to get patient zero so they can extract some kind of antidote to give to the human race. I guess there's like 500 people affected, plus your Justice League members and whatnot. And this is what patient zero looks like right here. So yeah, man, this was a good book. This is a good, solid book. Each and every month, Jeff Johns delivers. This continues to prove how good of a writer Jeff Johns is. And I miss his writing when it comes to other titles, especially like Green Lantern, for instance. His Green Lantern run for those 10 years was phenomenal. I wish the man could come back to that series, because for me, I'm not even reading Green Lantern anymore because it's so far out there for me right now. And when I read Justice League, I feel his writing in this, and it's just a whole other level compared to a whole lot of other writers out there. So that's why I really like this particular issue. And there you have it, guys. There's the #1 book of the week. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's countdown. Really enjoyed doing this week's. There was a lot of great books to talk about. And, guys, you've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and you've seen everything else in between. So, in the comments below, I want to see your worst book, your favorite book, and all those books in between as well. And, guys, until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, fans. Take care, and go Dolphins.